Hi folks, it's Andy. Hope you're having a great day. It's a new Kendo rant today. I've got Max with me, as I posted on the Kendo Show Early Access group yesterday that I was going to film this with Max, and a few of you sent in some questions. Before I get into them, I just want to say thanks as well for the great response we've had to the Kendo rants videos. It's been really, really good. Obviously, they're super informal. They're just taken in a single take. There's no no cuts or edits or anything like that. I just upload them straight up there and leave them be, as it were. So, but it seems to be popular. I'm at the Max and I are at the British Kendo Association's summer seminar.
What is it? Day 3 today?
Day 3, yeah.
And we've still got 3 more days
in the Kendo house.
Yeah. Day 3 in the Kendo house.
And so we're actually filming this in the bar of a hotel. Just on the webcam on my laptop, so it's not great quality microphone or anything like that, but I'm sure you'll forgive us. So as I said, I posted up on Facebook that we were going to film it today. You can't see that, and asked for some questions, and I thought me and Max would go through them. One at a time. We'll just give you sort of we've got quite a few to go through, so we'll just give you sort of short and sharp answers on what our thoughts are with them, really. So first, the first one we've got from Tristan. How about pushing through low attendance at the dojo? When there's 2 or 3 diehards every session wanting to train hard at their peak level, but there isn't that diversity of motodachi and lots of spirited voices around to spur on your kendo. It can be tough to a lot of people to get them down about their own kendo. So I think what that sort of means is when you go to dojo. Obviously, Max is still living out in Japan.
Yeah, I'm lucky. When I go to the dojo, I practice with like 30 or 40 people of 30 or 40 amazing Japanese university kendo students. So I don't have that problem. But when I was in England, I have experienced that, and I know what you mean. So. Yeah,
definitely. It is something that you're always going to have, certainly in the West, because the fact is everybody does kendo for their own reasons here. Some people want to improve faster than others. Some people are very serious about their progression. Some people are very conscious of being good tournament players, stuff like that. Whereas other people, they've got their own sort of goals of self-improvement, or they want to practice on a more relaxed basis, and that's fine. That's fine for everybody. You can't sort of push your ideals onto somebody else, really, and say you've got to practice harder because I want to practice harder. So it's tough, really. You just got to try your best to. I think what you can do is you can try and try your hardest, and that will hopefully inspire other people in the club to try hard too. Especially if you do sort of show improvement quite quickly or achieve stuff, then other people might think, oh well, if I knuckle down as well, maybe that's something I can achieve. Yeah. But otherwise, you've just got to sort of deal with it, really. It's a bit tough, You've just got to make sure that you're really strict on yourself. I've been in situations, even when I was in Japan, where I was mainly practicing just with kids, little kids, like up to 13 years old. And I still had to figure out how to practice in a way that I'd still...
But you can get something out of that if you do your best and I'm going to concentrate on doing sharp kendo. It's not an easy practice. I just have to do my best and make sure everything's sharp and concentrate in any situation.
Even if you have to draw it back a little bit more basic, So
I'd say as well... travel if you can. Like when I lived in Portsmouth in England, and it was quite far away from any other dojos, and I had to drive to London twice a week in order to get those 4 keikos in. And when I travelled, I could practice with more different people and then bring things home and work on it in my home dojo. So if you can, make the effort to travel to different dojos and see different senseis and practice with as many people as you can, and then I think you'll naturally improve. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, great question. Thanks, Tristan. Next one, Clement. Sky length and the Shinai balance. It's just a one sentence. That's all. I'm guessing you mean. I'm guessing you mean sort of how does it affect the Shinai balance? Well, I think it's sort of basic physics. That the longer the handle of the Shinai, the sort of lighter the tip feels. It kind of feels a little bit better balanced. But obviously, it can feel a little bit odd if the handle's too long. I think there is. They say that the sky should be as long as your forearm, as you hold it like that.
But if you've got long arms,
like this guy,
you can't It would be ridiculous. So
yeah.
you just have to.
I think it's a really individual thing.
Yeah, see what feels good for you.
And about 5 years ago, I used to like really short scar on my Shinai, but the last few years, I've started to like them a little bit longer. I know people in Japan that are like really like super long scars.
Yeah, you see some strange ones. Yeah. But just, I mean, what could help you is whatever makes you have a good kamae and whatever feels natural. So get your Shinai with maybe try a few different ones. Look at yourself in the mirror doing kamae and see what looks good or see what feels good for you.
Definitely. Cool.
Just personal preference, I think.
Next one, Jet. Is there such a waza that disarms the opponent's Shinai? And Tristan has already replied to that, actually, saying, yeah, there's a couple that are doing well, and he's posted a video to Makiwaza. Yeah, there is. There's Makiwaza, Otoshiwaza, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Kiriotoshi.
Yeah, stuff that can knock the Shinai out the hand, or
sometimes
you can do like Makiage,
Makiwaza. You see sort of if
it's kind of strong harai. Yeah.
But
like Nishimura does that a lot,
not
right?
so common, but it exists.
But yeah, like there's that famous video from years ago, the Old Japan's, the Makiage.
It flies up.
Yeah. You can. There's those sort of things, but they're not like the goal.
I don't think you should concentrate on practicing those. Just if it happens and there's a chance for it, it happens. But it's not really what you should aim for.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, and I'm going to skip ahead a bit as well because there's two that are quite linked. Lucas says how somebody begin Nito, and Sean later also put when's it okay to start playing Jodan. So I think we can tackle these together.
Yeah, similar thing.
When is it a good time to start practicing Nito or Jodan? Okay.
Well, I would say first things first, you need to have a good sensei who can help you learn it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to learn from videos, and if you just try to do it by yourself in the dojo without proper instruction, you're not going to end up doing very well.
Well, I think so. I don't know. I don't fully agree. I don't disagree, but the thing is about Jodan is, or Nito, I don't know much about Nito if I'm honest with you, but Jodan, I think there's a lot of it that is self-study. I think in whatever case you are, even if you're in Japan, if you're in a high school, university, you do Jodan.
They just say you do Jodan now, and then he does it.
Yeah. I think you have to take a lot of it on yourself. You know what I mean? You have to take a lot of the study on yourself, but it is difficult. You will have to, if you want to get good at it, that is, you will have to kind of spend a lot of time trying to get access to teachers that can help you. Now, in terms of when is a good time to start, well, first off, most people in Japan, they start Jodan in high school because they're not allowed to do Jodan before high school.
So 15 years old, they probably start, but they will be second dan or nearly third dan.
Okay, so I think that's a good place to start, second dan or third dan.
Yeah.
In any case, and this is something I'd really stress, you need to be able to hit your waza with fumikomi ashi at the same time.
I was just going to say the same thing, because
why
they don't say
together.
They don't say, oh, you have to be sandan because you have to be sandan, or you have to be nida. You say it because if you've got that grade, it means you have.
Well, theoretically,
you should have good fumikomi and kiken daichi.
I mean, I've seen a few nidans that don't, but you got to be able to have that, because otherwise you're just going to be wasting your time. If you can't do that basic stuff from Chudan, then you're not ready for Jodan.
Get your foundation.
If you are there, then you could probably look at it. It's going to, like I say, it's going to take a lot of self-study and a lot of patience. You're going to have to start doing most of your suburi with one hand. Same with Nito. I mean, again, Nito is at high school, they're not allowed to do Nito actually. So they'd probably be sort of university students before they start Nito, which is third dan or fourth dan.
It's still very rare in Japan.
It's super rare.
I've practiced for 10 years. I think I've seen one student doing Nito.
Yeah, super rare. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of up to you. Obviously, you need to speak to the teacher in your own club as well, because you need their sort of they need to be cool with it, because otherwise it's not gonna go so well. Okay, so that's my sort of thoughts on that.
Should we look at this one? I think this is quite a good question.
Hang on a sec. Let's not skip ahead too far. We've got Philippe saying Tokui Waza. I've got something to say on this.
Okay, cool.
Tokui Waza, famous examples and how to develop your own. What do you think about that? Before I go off on mine on it.
Well, Tokui Waza means that your speciality waza, right? The thing that you go to if you need to score a point. But isn't it just natural? You try through trial and error. You take part in a few shiais and you see what you can do that makes the Chimpan raise their flags and what works for you. So it's just trial and error. You get more experience and you say, oh, well, Kote's been working for me. And So I'll go with the Manakote.
Can you think of any famous examples?
Famous examples.
I think you'll struggle.
Let's see. It's difficult. Yeah, I would say Sumi Sensei's Tobikomi Men. Big one.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay.
That's
Fair
comes
enough.
out to me.
But I mean, I think a lot of people would say things like Takanabe's Men or Miyazaki's Men.
Yeah.
But here's my thing on Tokuwaza. I don't think it exists. I think it's a bit of a misnomer.
Okay.
I think it's a concept that I think the best Kendo players, they don't have a Tokuwaza. They're just good at Kendo and they're good at lots of different waza. Someone like Takanabe, for example. Takanabe's men is absolutely brilliant, but he's also got awesome kote waza.
Yeah, and why does his men score? And why is it good? Because he's got other waza.
Yeah, exactly.
So if he could only do men, then his men wouldn't be.
I think
good.
the problem is the term Tokuwaza has a tendency to kind of it leads us into the way of thinking of having a trick up your sleeve.
No, it
Right.
shouldn't.
Yeah, I know, but I think
some people think
that's why I don't think that
it's a trick you
Tokuwaza
can
is a
use
good
to
thing,
score. No,
sort of a good concept, because it kind of leads you in this way of thinking of having tricks up your sleeve, which only work up to a certain level. After a certain level, they're just not going to be effective. And I think that's why a lot of the top players, they tend to score with lots of different points. I know, like I say, Takanabe-san, he scores a lot of men, but that's, like you said, that's because his other waza is absolutely spot on as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy's good at doing kote, he's good at doing ski, you know, so the guy comes from a place of seme. You know, it's like his tokui waza is seme. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I think on that. All right. Cool, let's move on to the next one. We're nearly done. This is from Sylvan. Does the quality of Shimpan influence the performance of the competitors? I like this question, Sylvan, because you actually gave us a question about Shimpan the other day that I did a video about. Like, do the senshu, that means competitors, feeling that they are being refereed fairly and qualitatively give their best and vice versa? What do you think on that, mate?
Well, first of all, it's a really good question, and I think the competitors should just do their best anyway. It doesn't matter if they think the Shimpan are good or bad. You just have to turn up and do your best. But I think it does have an effect on the sort of larger Kendo community. For example, if the Shimpan aren't really that good at understanding what Ippon is, the competitors can't learn. Because when you're in a Shiai and you should learn, oh, well, that was good enough. I got a point, so it must have been okay. Or I didn't. I thought
it guides the Kendo progress, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was good, but the Shimpan didn't raise their flag, so I need to go back to the dojo and work more. So I think it's a really big responsibility for the Shimpan to be correct, so that the competitors can learn, and that's why it's a really, really important thing for Shimpan to be good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, it's funny you should say that. I'll come back to the actual question itself, but on what Max just said there, it's something I noticed actually after coming back to Europe. I found that certain waza like gyakudo, okay, it's so much easier to get the point for gyakudo in Europe, right? Because they award it really easily.
Okay.
It's basically if you hit the target, they generally give it. Whereas in Japan, you have to have created a good opportunity for gyakudo before they'll give it.
Yeah.
All right, the other person has to have their feet stopped. They have to be up in a 3-point block. Here, you can sort of whip it in. It doesn't really matter what's going on before and after it, and a lot of Shimpan tend to award it, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's detrimental because people rely on gyakudo too much,
and then they're going to think, oh, well, that's good enough, so I don't need to do better. So I don't need to have good timing.
So you probably noticed practicing over here, loads of people do loads of gyakudo. There's loads of gyakudo happening.
So there was no chance for that gyakudo.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't do gyakudo, of course not, but I think that people have been over-encouraged to do it. Does that make sense? But in terms of does the quality of the Shimpan influence the performance of the competitors? Yeah, well, it sort of has to, doesn't it? I think the other thing is I've noticed is, you know, when you've got the quality of the Shimpan, if they're not quite up to what you'd like them to be, let's say, and they're not awarding points because perhaps it does sometimes happen, unfortunately, that you'll perform points that are above the level of the Shimpan's understanding. Okay, so or too
well, they
fast.
might just miss it, right?
Or too fast for them
I've been
to see.
Shimpan before, and I've made mistakes. We've all done it.
Yeah, no. Well, there's a difference though. There's a difference between making a mistake and where the Shimpan are not quite at the right level.
Oh, well, it could
right?
be.
Where you can see throughout the whole tournament that they're consistently not awarding
Debana men or
I-men because they didn't see the right one, or they didn't understand why that was a point when it should be.
Which is like one of the best Kendo waza, so it should be encouraged.
Conversely, they might award something that in Japan would never be awarded, So a good example is often in Japan, for example, if you come from Subazariai, you start to do wakare. In Japan, you have to do complete wakare before you start attacking again.
Yeah.
In fact, for high school students, if they start an attack from here, they start to separate, and if they start to attack from here, they can receive hansoku for that. Whereas here, it can be awarded ippon. Okay, so it's
a bit of a grey area.
It's a bit of a grey area. It's because it's a very difficult. It's not something you can just write down and say, okay, well, in this situation, this is definitely a point. This is definitely not. It's very situational. But I do feel myself that sometimes, okay, well, that sort of point isn't going to score here, and this sort of point is going to score under these conditions. So you have to kind of adjust your kendo. Now, I wouldn't say that it's to do with giving your best or not. It's just being flexible and thinking, okay, well, this waza is the one I need to be more. Is more likely to achieve a point because it's more obvious than a sort of a waza that's a bit more like a genmyo na waza, they call them. They're kind of difficult or
suriageme or something. It doesn't have to be as strong, but it's more sophisticated.
Yeah.
It takes a good shimpan to be able to realise that.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of hikiwaza as well. Like hikigote, for example, is really difficult to see and really difficult to award properly. So it often gets done incorrectly. So yeah, I do think it affects it.
Yeah. I'd say one final thing on the shimpan issue, like regardless if the shimpanning you thought it was bad, just can't help it. Just carry on, go back to the dojo, do more kendo, and do better next time. Don't focus on the shimpan were rubbish.
The best thing to do, you
just make excuses.
You just go and do your best in the match, innit? And then the last question is from Jesse. It says, Kendo elitism, and why is it both simultaneously good and bad for the art?
What does it mean, Kendo elitism?
Well, sure. It's a bit vague what you mean by Kendo elitism. I'm going to assume that you mean like the attitude that is prevalent where we have a tendency to consider Kendo to be better than other sports or activities. I talked about this a bit in the Olympic question video. Where we do have a tendency to be like, oh no, Kendo's too good for the Olympics. If it was put in the Olympics, it would sink to the level of other sports.
I've heard people say
you see
that,
what I mean? Yeah. It's a very common thing people say in Japan.
They say, oh, why is Kendo special? Oh, because it's Budo. And then you say why, but they can't give you an answer.
And of course, Kendo, the concept of Kendo is about self-improvement, becoming a better person.
But you can do that in other sports as well.
You could do that in other sports, definitely.
Teamwork, learning how to be a better person.
Absolutely.
Trial and error, losing, coming back from losses. You can do it in Kendo, but you can do it in football, anything.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of why it's both simultaneously good and bad for the art, well, that's a bit difficult. I mean, I guess it can be good for it because it is quite good that the people that are very much focused on that. They are trying to keep Kendo sort of to its roots in terms of keeping it towards. And when I say its roots, I don't mean sword fighting because I don't think Kendo is about sword fighting. It's is about.
It comes from it, but
it's about the cultivation of the character, and I think it's good that is emphasised in Kendo. We emphasise things like manners, that sort of thing. But it can be bad as well because it could put people off. It could be difficult for people to get into or understand. There's a lot of really vague concepts in Kendo, isn't there? That I think are quite difficult, which sometimes we just do for the sake of tradition. It feels like, which could be off-putting to some people because it's a lot easier for them to just pick up soccer or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm not saying that we should change any of it because I don't. But I do think we should be careful not to be too elitist because it's not cool to be like, oh no, Kendo's better than anything else you can do. Because it's just not fair, especially especially when you're not coming from a place of experience. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't say that Kendo's better than fencing because I've never done fencing.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know the inner workings of fencing or what have you. And that somebody that does fencing could probably think the same about Kendo. They might think it's just all about bashing, hitting, and shouting.
Isn't it?
But from the outside, comparing it to something like fencing, which they probably consider to be much more elegant in comparison to Kendo. I mean, they're just using different standards to appreciate it. You know what I mean? I think it's best to be careful not to be elitist.
Be proud of Kendo, but don't be snobbish.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the questions. I'd like to thank Max for coming. It's great to see you, man.
It's good fun. It's nice to be back in the UK and practicing Kendo all around the world.
For the time being, you're back over to Japan at the end of the month. But, I'm hoping to get over to Japan again soon, and with a bit of luck, we'll be able to do another episode of the Kendo show together. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Watch out for it.
Yeah, we'll do that. But thank you for watching and supporting the videos that we've done. I'm glad you enjoy them. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, because that's what
good stuff.
That's what pays for all of this stuff, and the gear's really good as well, right?
I use it all the time. That's all I use.
There you go. You got
he's not paying me to say
Max's stamp of approval. No, I don't pay him to say that. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.